Hey guys, what's going on? I'm John Malecki, and in this video I'm going to be doing a tutorial. So here you can see I am laying out the bow tie or butterfly key or butterfly inlay, whatever you'd like to call it. This is a piece of maple and I am using it in the long grain. You want to make sure that you're using the long grain and not cross grain for this application. I am using a template of a stainless steel water jetted bow tie key that was sent to me by a friend on Instagram. So that is very precise. Here I'm heading over to the bandsaw. Now take your time and make sure your lines are as straight as possible. It's tough to get in there and sand this after because of the shape, so cut as close as you possibly can, and if you need to, use a chisel to get the precise lines and the precise shape that you're looking for. There's a lot of information online about the angles you should be using in this. Fortunately, I didn't have to worry about that for this instance because I had the templates sent to me, as I said before. So here I'm just cutting that out and getting as close to the line as possible, and then I go ahead and cut a center line down the middle, basically just resawing this piece. The reason I'm doing this is because there's no need to have the bow tie be more than a ½ inch deep, especially for this application. The wood might have been a little bit, over 5/4, and it wasn't sanded yet. So I'm laying it out on this piece of cherry here, and what I suggest, and I got all of my instructions from BJ Mac Wood. If you want to check him out, I'll put a link down in the description. But he uses some CA glue and activator, and I think this is a great use for it, just to hold it in place and make sure you're very precise with your lines. Here I'm using a sharp knife, and if you guys recognize that knife, it's because I made it, and there's a video on my channel which I'll also put a link to. But use a sharp line, and the point of this is to break the fibers on the top of the wood here. So you want to make sure you're getting something nice and precise. So using a regular razor blade would be fine, but it might be a little tough to get down the distance you need to with the tie sitting there. So you want to use something that has a nice long blade. Now here you can see I'm making sure my lines and grooves are very deep, and I'm making sure that I'm breaking the fibers on the top of the wood. So once I have the bow tie outlined with the riving knife or whatever type of knife you want to use, I go ahead and grab my palm router with a 1/4 inch upcycle bit. You can use an 1/8 inch or whatever, something smaller to get closer to the lines, and then I go ahead and just plunge it straight down into the center of the bow tie. What I do is I have a light behind me, as you guys can see the shadows, and I apologize I couldn't get the camera angle quite right so you could see what I was hogging out, but you get the point. I'm getting as close to the line as possible here, and because of the way I went and scored the top, once I get close to that line, it kind of has a little poof to it, and the line will give way, and you don't have to actually try to run a straight line. It just kind of breaks off itself, which is nice with the upcycle bit. So I go ahead and just take my time walking around the inside on each side. I do the left and then the right on the sides of the crack, and you can see there I go back in with a chisel and get the lines super precise and nice. So you can see how close I get to the knife marks here. And for this, you want to make sure you have a nice sharp chisel. So for my purposes, I used a 1-inch chisel here because it fit in the gaps I wanted. It was my sharpest chisel. And I absolutely hate sharpening chisels or knives or any of that because I don't have a machine. And I do it by hand, and it's just tedious, and I hate it. So if anyone has any suggestions or comments or recommendations, go ahead and leave those down below. But you can see here I'm getting just nice and sharp in the corners and making sure I have the knife perpendicular to the wood, and I'm going straight down with the light tap. I walk the whole way around and just get it nice and sharp, crisp edges for the insert of the key. I'll bring that in the screen in a second here, but you can see it's basically just taking your time. This is the standard method of doing it without the router, but obviously you could tell that it would take a little bit more time. Using the router just gets a lot of the material out of there first, and it's very simple and pretty quick. Alright, so after tapping along there and getting my edges nice and sharp, I take the key back in and I kind of lay it into place. Now what you want to do is see if it fits, and don't beat it into the insert yet, but go ahead, and I am sorry for being terrible with the camera, but I go ahead and taper the key itself a little bit there to make sure it wedges down in there. And if you get your lines nice and sharp with layout, shouldn't be an issue. Then it's just adding some glue. I'm using Type Bond 3 here, and you can use Quickset epoxy as well, which works well, but I was out, so I had to go the long drying route. But yeah, just using some Type Bond 3 and making sure you cover both sides, and then you'll get a little bit of squeeze out. And you see how easily that goes down after I have the bottom of the key tapered. So pound it into place, and then a little trick to fill the gaps around the outside, if you have any, is just take the dust you had from the routing and drop it on there. You can get it to go in the edges, and as you see, I'm kind of pushing it in, and it hides a little bit of imperfection if there is any in the key itself. So that's a nice little trick. Once it dries, I grab my Rotex, and hint, hint, this is why you buy a Rotex. Look how quickly it's taking that down. But not to harp on the tool, I just go ahead and mill the entire area down with 80 grit and 120 and 220 grit. So this is the fun part when you kind of get to see it come to life. I wipe it down with some mineral spirits, and then she was ready to go back to the client. So I want to thank everyone for watching. If you like this video and the style of video, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave those down below. I really try to answer as many of those as I possibly can. I got some great feedback on my Instagram page for this project as well, which is kind of what inspired the tutorial video. So make sure you're following me on social, especially on Instagram at John_Malecki, and on Twitter at the same handle. Check me at my website too, where I do some blogging and a little bit more photography and whatnot. That's johnmalecki.com. So if you like this style of video and like to see some more tutorials type stuff, go ahead and leave me a comment there, or shoot me an email, and let me know what you'd like to see too. So once again, thank you guys for watching, and until next time, keep building.